It's ruined, all ruined, my future mother-in-law, Sarah, shouted in the bridal shop. She stood over my wedding dress, now ripped into pieces. The delicate lace and silk lace scattered on the floor. Now Amber will have to wear her own dress. What a shame, she said with fake sympathy. I stared at my destroyed dress, my hands shaking. My name is Victoria Chen, and at 28, I just watched my future mother-in-law destroy the dress I had designed for my wedding. How could you do this? I asked, picking up a piece of the dress. Sarah smirked, her expensive heels crushing the fabric. Oh honey, it's for the best, she said. Amber's wedding is in 3 months, and this dress would have been perfect for her. You were selfish not to share. Amber, my future sister-in-law, wanted my dress from the moment she saw it. She didn't care that I had designed it myself, pouring months of work into every stitch. She didn't care that I was marrying her brother, Michael, in just 2 weeks. Michael walked in, his eyes widening at the scene. Mom, what have you done? He asked. I'm protecting our family, Sarah said proudly. Victoria refused to give Amber the dress, so I had to step in. Amber is my daughter. She deserves this more than an outsider. I looked at Michael, waiting for him to stand up for me. Instead, he sighed, running his hands through his hair. Vicky, maybe we can find you another dress? He said weakly. Something off the rack? Just to keep the peace. Something inside me changed. For a year, I had tried to fit into their family, staying quiet when Sarah insulted me, letting Amber take the spotlight. But not anymore. You're right, Michael, I said, standing up. Peace is important. Sarah looked confused as I took out my phone. Hello, this is Victoria Chen. I'd like to report property damage at Chen Bridal Boutique. Yes, I have video proof. I glanced at the security camera in the corner. Sarah hadn't noticed it. Her face turned pale. You wouldn't dare. Michael, tell her she can't do this to me. I walked toward the door. The police will be here soon. You can explain why you destroyed a $15,000 wedding dress. I looked at Michael. The wedding is still on, but you should think about whose side you're on. As I left, my phone buzzed. It was Amber. You're just jealous because I'd look better in it anyway. I smiled. What Sarah destroyed wasn't my real wedding dress. It was a fake, a test. My real dress was safe in my studio, a dress as unique as me. I drove to my studio, where I had built my own design business, even though the Matthews family called it a cute hobby. Inside, behind a locked door, hung my real wedding dress. A masterpiece. My phone rang. It was my best friend, Lily. I just got your text. Did Sarah really destroy your dress? Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, touching the beadwork on my real dress. Actually, I'm better than fine. I finally see them for who they are, and I'm done playing their games. Lily laughed. So what's the plan? I thought about Sarah's smug face, Michael's weakness, Amber's selfishness. Then I smiled. The wedding is still on, I said, but it won't be what they expect. I looked at myself in the mirror. I wasn't the woman who had spent a year trying to please the Matthews family. I was stronger now. The next 2 weeks would change everything. And I was ready. The next 2 weeks flew by in a blur of preparations and tense silences. Sarah avoided legal trouble for destroying my fake wedding dress. Michael had begged me to drop the charges for family harmony, but the damage was done. Their perfect family image had cracked. I focused on finishing my real wedding dress, working late nights in my studio. Every stitch, every crystal was a silent act of defiance. This dress wasn't just for a wedding. It was a statement. 3 days before the wedding, Sarah hosted a family dinner at her mansion. She sat at the head of the table, acting like a queen. It's such a shame about Victoria's dress, she announced. But I've taken care of everything. I ordered her a lovely designer gown, simple, but appropriate for someone of her background. Amber laughed. At least now she won't outshine me at my own brother's wedding. I looked at Michael, hoping he'd defend me. But he just stared at his plate, pretending not to hear. Sarah smiled smugly. The dress arrives tomorrow. Size 6, though you might want to watch what you eat this week, dear. I calmly took a sip of water. That's very thoughtful, Sarah, but I've already handled the dress situation. Sarah raised an eyebrow. And what exactly could you afford on such short notice? Something from the mall? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and smiled. Excuse me, I need to take this call. It's from Vogue. The silence as I left the dining room was perfect. The next morning, my studio was buzzing with photographers. The magazine shoot I'd arranged weeks ago was in full swing. My real wedding dress, a blend of modern design and traditional Chinese elements, was being featured in an article about emerging designers. "This is stunning," the journalist said, admiring the details. "You're going to make waves." I nodded, thinking about how Sarah always dismissed my heritage and never saw my talent. Then a message popped up on my phone. It was from Michael. "Mom's furious about the Vogue thing. Says you're making the wedding all about you. Maybe we should postpone." I stared at his words. He still couldn't stand up to her. He wanted me to shrink myself for the rest of my life. "No postponement," I typed back. "But think carefully about whether you're ready for a wife who won't stay silent to keep the peace." The day before the wedding, Sarah's replacement dress arrived at my apartment. It was a plain white gown, cheap and lifeless. The note attached read, "Wear this. Don't embarrass our family, Sarah." I hung it next to my real dress and laughed. Tomorrow, everything would change. That evening, Lily showed up with takeout. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" she asked. "You could walk away and avoid all the drama." I ran my fingers over the beadwork of my dress. "I'm not walking away. Tomorrow isn't just about a wedding. It's about showing them exactly who I am." "And Michael?" she asked. "Is he worth it?" I thought about his silence, his loyalty to his mother over me. Tomorrow will answer that too. Late that night, Sarah sent one final message. "Remember, family comes first. Don't make a scene tomorrow." I smiled and replied, "Don't worry. Everyone will get exactly what they deserve." As I set my phone down, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at me wasn't the same one who had watched her dress get destroyed 2 weeks ago. She was stronger. Tomorrow wasn't just a wedding. It was a reckoning. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear. The grand ballroom of the Four Seasons was decorated exactly to Sarah's specifications. All white and gold, elegant but safe. Predictable. I waited in the bridal suite, listening to the growing murmur of guests arriving. Sarah had already stopped by twice, ostensibly to check on me, but really to ensure I was wearing her chosen dress. "The ceremony starts in an hour," she announced during her third visit, barging in without knocking. "Are you?" Her voice trailed off as she saw the garment bag hanging on the door. "That's not the dress I sent." "No," I said calmly, applying my lipstick. "It's not." Sarah's face reddened. "You will not ruin this day with your stubbornness. I won't allow it." "You don't have to allow anything," I replied, standing up. "This is my wedding, and I'm done letting you dictate my choices." She stormed out, no doubt to complain to Michael. I took a deep breath and unzipped the garment bag, revealing my creation in all its glory. The dress was a fusion of cultures and innovation. Traditional Chinese red silk merged seamlessly with modern architectural elements, hand-beaded crystals catching the light like stars. It wasn't just a wedding dress. It was a statement of identity. Lily helped me into it, tears in her eyes. "You look incredible," she whispered. "They won't know what hit them." The doors to the ballroom opened and the wedding march began. I could see Sarah's face from where I stood, her smug smile frozen as she waited to see me in her choice of dress. Amber sat beside her, already practicing her sympathetic grimace. Then I stepped into view. The collective gasp was audible. Sarah's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Amber's mouth hung open, all pretense of superiority forgotten. But I wasn't watching them. I was watching Michael, standing at the altar, seeing the exact moment he realized what was at stake. His eyes widened, taking in the dress, the confidence, the woman I'd become. I walked down the aisle slowly, head held high. The photographers Sarah had hired were clicking frantically, capturing every moment. What she didn't know was that they were also shooting for my Vogue feature. When I reached the altar, Michael whispered, "You look amazing." "But my mother." I cut him off quietly. "Your mother doesn't control me anymore." "The question is, does she still control you?" The officiant began the ceremony, but before Michael could say his vows, Sarah stood up. "This is unacceptable," she announced to the assembled guests. "This isn't what we planned." "No," I agreed, turning to face her. "It's better. This is who I am, a designer, a businesswoman, and someone who won't be diminished to make others comfortable." I looked at Michael. "So what's it going to be?" Are you ready to stand with me, or are you going to let your mother decide this too? The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Michael stepped back, his face apologetic. I can't. I'm sorry. I nodded, having expected this moment. I know, I said softly, then louder, to our guests. Thank you all for coming. While there won't be a wedding today, please stay and enjoy the reception. Consider it the launch party for my new bridal collection. As chaos erupted around us, I walked back down the aisle, this time alone but stronger than ever. Behind me, I could hear Sarah's indignant shrieks, Amber's dramatic sobs, and the excited murmur of guests who knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. The next day, my phone was flooded with messages about the Vogue article. My design was being hailed as revolutionary, orders were pouring in, and several major retailers wanted to discuss partnerships. Sarah's carefully planned society wedding had become my stepping stone to success, and my ruined decoy dress had led to something far more valuable, my freedom. 6 months later, I opened my flagship store. The display window featured 2 dresses, the shredded remains of the decoy, artfully arranged, and beside it my red wedding dress, a symbol of resilience and authenticity. Above them hung a sign that read, "Sometimes destruction leads to creation. Victoria Chen Bridal." I never did send Sarah a thank you note for destroying that first dress. But I did send her a copy of Vogue, with my story splashed across its pages. After all, she'd always said family should share everything.